Well, everybody, we have come to the end of an era of House of the Dragon. We have now seen the first 5 episodes, the first half. We are saying goodbye to our younger actresses. I think only actresses. Oh, I guess Rhaenyra also gets a new actor, so I guess it's men too. Actors and actresses. As we will be time skipping next time. I guess it's a kind of a bit of a spoiler, but I feel like I said that last week anyway.
I feel like everyone should know at this point.
Yes. Viserys is probably going to die in season 1, guys. I'm sorry. It's going to happen. But besides that, no spoilers here. Hold on, I'm trying to do something on my thingy. Anyway, EliteAri is here too. I didn't even introduce him yet.
Yep. Hello. I'm here again.
What would you do without him? It just wouldn't be the same. But anyway, Ari has finished the episode approximately 2 minutes ago.
Yep.
So he's fresh. He's fresh off the books here. I watched it a few hours ago, though I haven't been watching him alive in recent weeks. Dastardly I am. But I actually have some notes in preparation for this one because there are a few things, and to avoid us falling into the chronology trap, though I do have the episode up as well. I guess we'll get to your overall processing thoughts first, Mr. Ari.
Oh boy. For overall thoughts, let me think. So, obviously, this is a very monumental episode. A lot happens. It kind of felt like like second to last episode of the season kind of thing, which is crazy to happen now. I think I enjoyed this a lot. I don't know if it's my favorite. I'd have to think about it, I guess, a bit. But I really liked it. I liked every scene. It felt a bit different to all the other episodes as well, with a lot of establishing shots and different locations, and it felt a lot grander than all the other episodes. But yeah, I thought it was great, really, and obviously it's a turning point, I guess, for the show probably. But yep,
we definitely, because last time we went to Storm's End for a bit, but we definitely saw a lot more of Driftmark than we saw of Storm's End. We didn't get any establishing shots of Storm's End, just interior shots.
Yeah.
But this time we were getting walks on a beach that weren't as romantic as maybe we had hoped. I guess we'll start with Rhaenyra's gay. I don't think you could have possibly seen that coming, but that's a big thing.
No.
That's Rhaenyra's defining. That's when you think of Rhaenyra, he's gay. That's the thing. But,
wait. What do you think about the episode overall?
Oh, yeah. It was good. It was great. It was fun. I loved it a lot. Probably not as much as last week, but that's to be expected. I don't know how to rank them at this point. But yes, I also thought it was a very fun time. There's actually some changes and things like that that are all interesting. We'll see if I can bring them up in a non-spoilery fashion. Only little changes, sort of situational changes. The broad strokes here, Criston, be going wild, Rhaenyra, he's gay, and other things too.
Daemon's wife.
Whose wife? What?
Daemon's wife. She's dead.
Oh, I guess we should
crazy.
We should start there. I guess it's the first scene of the show.
Oh,
your favorite man, your best boy. He killed his wife in cold blood. Can you believe that?
Well, I don't know. The horse just fell. It was weird. How did he do that? I don't understand what happened.
Oh, Miller was also complaining about this. Did you see this in the Discord?
Oh, no.
He was
I've not read anything.
How did he knock the horse over or whatever? I was just like, I don't know. The horse got spooked and fell back.
Yeah, I guess it just scared him. Yeah, it was really strange.
Now, in the book, it is just said that she dies riding a horse, and there is obviously some... Did Daemon do this? But in the show, Daemon did it.
Yeah, he certainly did. Yeah.
There was, because you avoid all this stuff, but on Twitter, there were images released of Rhea Royce. I think that's her name. And everybody was simping over her and how pretty she was, and oh man, we're gonna meet Daemon's wife next episode. It's gonna be so fun. So I wonder if this will have any.
She was gonna be ugly and
that's what every tweet response said. How come if Daemon don't want her, I do? Puts hand up. But yeah, it's interesting. I thought because when I saw that, I was like, oh, I bet what's going to happen is we're gonna get scenes with them next episode. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to actually get along for the first time in their entire marriage, and then it's going to be a funny meme when she dies accidentally on a horse and Daemon kind of gets blamed for it. That's not what happened. But my original point of bringing that up is I wonder if it'll have any washback on Daemon and people's perception of him, because there were a lot of people simping for her, and for her to just be in literally one scene, and for then him to pretty brutally kill her, even though we don't see it.
No,
Cutfish, Lamau.
I doubt it.
That's an Attack on Titan pilot thingy. Do you remember that in the first episode of Attack on Titan?
The what? Cut fish? What
Yep,
did you
they
say?
cut away from something gruesome to a fish getting its head cut off in the market in Attack on Titan episode 1. It's true. I didn't bring that up out of nowhere, but it was a thing. That's what I thought of. But it's probably it's probably a cliche from something else or something. I don't know. Obviously,
it's a very common trope.
Yeah, it's the cutaway thing, but just directly to a fish is what I'm talking about here.
Right. Genius.
Daemon done killed her, so now you hate Daemon, right? He's evil and terrible, and we all hate him.
No. I like him the exact same. Yeah. I even like him more this episode. He came to the wedding. What a good bloke.
I don't think he came to the wedding to be a good bloke, but there was also a Royce at the wedding too. I guess we can talk about that now. He kind of wants to fight Daemon, then Daemon threatens him with a dragon or whatever and taking Runestone away from him, kicking him out, and he's like, all right, I guess I'll sit back down.
Yep.
Anything to say about that? I guess I kind of summed it up.
No, I mean, it was, you did a good job. Let me think. I mean, there was a lot of, like, in that, I don't know if we want to talk about the wedding yet.
There's obviously a shit ton to talk about there, but
yeah, that was an interesting interaction. He was very direct about it. And what's the Hand of the King's name? Is it Strong?
Strong,
Is that his...
Lionel Strong.
Strong was like looking at him, and
Viserys also heard it, so I was like, I think Viserys would be a little madder about this. But yeah.
But
also she mentions that they never consummated their marriage, so he never got it up once. That's probably why she doesn't like him. Which is interesting.
Maybe.
And I think I said that. Maybe I said that to Minty or something. But I feel like maybe I didn't say it last time. But I feel like I remember saying something about that, like Daemon's dick not working issues might go back further than we think. I guess to keep on Daemon, there's something going on here with Rhaenyra and Daemon. Did you realize it was Rhaenyra when she first showed up, and then later at the feast when she's dancing with Daemon for a bit?
Yeah, I did.
Sitting at opposite ends of the table, flirting.
She looks a lot older than last time. It's crazy.
Definitely does. I don't think she's changed.
Do you know is she gonna get recast again?
I've seen an image of her from a future episode that actually wasn't from the preview, but a different trailer that came out during the week. But I don't know if we see her face enough to know. Very cool scene in this trailer, but hold on, I could literally Google it right now, and I'm going to. Talk about Rhaenyra and Daemon for a second, or and then anything surrounding.
They dance.
They dance a little bit. They talk back and forth in
you know what? I ship them. I like them. What a great pair.
Yes. Hold on, I think she is getting recast too, because there's 3 actresses listed here.
She gets 1 episode.
I wonder if it will be. Well, I guess they kind of say in the preview how long the next time skip is, but you probably don't want me to say. So it might be that she might be.
Definitely. I don't want to know.
But after that, we'll see. But yes, that was interesting. Rhaenyra and Daemon fans in shambles. Well, the opposite of shambles. They're happy.
Yep.
I guess Daemon also has a moment with Rhaenyra there that also was released during the week that I remember watching before it happened, which is I think we should talk about that later with the Rhaenyra stuff and the Cole stuff, because it sort of fits in. Rhaenyra and her many blokes. Quite a conflict this episode was. Where do we want to go from here, though? There's a million places. All my notes are vague enough and about 2 things too specific. So,
I guess I could talk. I mean, I don't know. To me, the biggest thing of this episode, I mean, there's a lot that are big things, but to me, it really changed my perception of Rhaenyra quite a bit.
Are you and Miller the same person? Because I feel like
I don't know.
Just did this.
What did he say?
But are you going to say that you have a negative view of Rhaenyra more so now, or positive?
Definitely negative.
Oh, okay. So yeah, you and Miller are the same person.
Oh, okay. Maybe we're on the same wavelength of the show. You know, the show is just perfect, and we're understanding it perfectly. But yeah, absolutely. She
didn't do nothing wrong. What are you talking about?
Well, it all comes back to that scene with Criston where she had the opportunity to leave and get rid of all the stuff that's burdening her, and she just wants her cake and to eat it too, right? Like, she just wants the best of everything.
Okay. Actually,
like, she wants to marry this man and have Criston as a whore, you know?
What a
when she had the opportunity to leave. No, what a great line! My goodness.
That was because
like
you keep going. You keep going.
No, it's just such a great line because it's a twist on like this whole
Yeah,
like gender is obviously a big part of this whole story, right?
yeah,
And it's like twisting the fact that you never really hear the word whore used in association with men, at least in the story so far. And
yeah.
it's just like him seeing himself as a whore, and it's just crazy. It's I really like that line.
That was actually the line that
Yeah.
made me turn against Criston. Now, just in the build up to
Oh my
this, we
goodness.
see them posing together at the beginning, and remember last time I was like, man, I really hope we get a scene with Criston and Rhaenyra where they talk about things before we get into, because I knew that their relationship was not going to last. It might come
Mm.
undone the very next episode. So I was hoping we got the scene, and then we got it. It was so great. I love it. It's my favorite thing in the show, these two idiots. And it might be
Yep.
over, at least this section of it. We might get some hatred down the line. We'll see.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
But yes, so they teased me out for like the first 20 minutes because they didn't do it, or I don't know how many minutes exactly the scene happens. It's towards the beginning, but I was like, oh,
Yeah.
just give us the fucking scene. Don't you dare not show us. And then it happened, and I was like, man, I love, because there is an easy knowing what's coming because it's ending badly. So they could have.
Yeah.
There's such an easier like way to write it for like it to fall into shambles, but I like it's sort of the whole show is grey, I guess. But like the greyness of like Rhaenyra is still very much into him. It's not like she's like, I gotta get married now, get out of my sight. You're just a headache and you are my whore and I'm just gonna use you and leave you.
Yeah.
When you're not convenient or have you around when you're convenient. Just the smirks she was giving him and things like that, I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's a continuation of the chemistry last time. I was loving it. And I don't know, I
Yeah.
just like that scene a lot. Now, I definitely came out of it liking Rhaenyra more than Criston, which is interesting, because I still like, the Twitter turned against Criston Cole very much in this episode. Me and Minty were
Yeah.
speculating, like, oh no, Criston's going to have his incel moment next episode. And they actually they did very well in not having it be truly an incel moment where he's just mad that he doesn't get the princess, but it's a bunch of other things. And that actually has to do with something they cut, which we will talk about. A little bit.
Wait, so I'm a bit. You got to clarify here. So this incel moment, are you still referring to that conversation?
Not
about
on. No,
him, like,
no, no,
being a
no.
whore,
This
or
is
that...
later when he's beating
Okay.
people to death.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the incel moment. The thing at the banquet, which actually
Yep.
isn't a banquet in books, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yep. Okay.
So there's a lot going on in the scene with Rhaenyra, and with Criston. It's so good. I talked about this last time, but the Criston
Yeah.
Cole thing is very much a reference to the book storyline with Aerys Oakheart, who is similarly sleeping with a princess, and he hates himself kind of for it, but he also kind of loves her and wants to marry her. Has aspirations of potentially running away with her, but but in the book he's kind of getting manipulated. It's a little bit different. But the character that Ariana Martell is the princess that the book character is sleeping with, and she actually has oh no, never mind. I was nearly going to go into a spoiler there. That would have been very bad. That's for in a few episodes. We can talk about that further. But it's clearly a parallel, and there's some monologues that even I've heard, even though I haven't read the book in order, how bad of me, of his sort of internal conflict and stuff, and him talking about the white cloak and everything, and Criston bringing all that up in this scene. It's all just callbacks, gets the emotions going. It's sick. But then on the
Wait, so
Rhaenyra...
Criston's not in the book?
No, Criston is. This is the Aerys Oakheart princess stuff is in like the main series. It's like way later on.
Okay.
It's all a callback to
Yep.
this. Yeah. That could have been confusing very much, yes. Don't know who Ariana Mattel is? My goodness, sorry. Get your shit in order. But yes, that's main story stuff. They're kidnapping Marcella. My goodness, what's happening there?
Crazy.
She wants to make her the queen. Yikes. But that even ties in, making the woman the queen. My goodness. But anyway, so there's a lot going on the Criston side. He's very conflicted. He hates himself a little bit for betraying his oath because he actually does care about that a lot. And he also clearly loves Rhaenyra and has fallen for her. Then on the Rhaenyra side, I actually wrote this down, where there's like 4 things going on with Rhaenyra that could lead her into the direction of potentially going and agreeing, and potentially definitely not. So we've got her want for the throne, which is obvious, just power, or she likes being the heir. And then we've got her want for him, which could draw her in the other direction. Then we've got her want, and I think this actually comes down to it, because she starts to bring up Aegon, and she says her want to serve the realm against the cold and dark, which is obviously the prophecy that Viserys has brought into it, which is above even ascending to the throne is her like a duty, and that's definitely going to be called back upon, even though it's not in the book. A lot throughout the series, and it'll be very interesting, cool how she deals with that, and who if she'll tell her potential heirs about that and pass it on and things like that. And because the last thing she starts bringing up Aegon, so it's like she almost maybe would tell him that's why, but he sort of runs off. But then the last one in the other direction is her want to run away and be free of the burdens of her namesake, which we saw last episode when she went out with Daemon and she enjoyed herself. And he calls back to an earlier conversation they had where she was like, oh, I want to be a normal girl or whatever. I want to give up like the burden of being the heir and things like that. And Jason Lannister courting me. There was a cute little Jason Lannister diss back and forth in the wedding scene later, which was cute. But yeah, so there's a lot going on with Rhaenyra here, and I like it. I like it a lot. In the end, Judy sort of compels her to not go with him. Even her heart, I don't know if she would entirely be down. I don't know. That's sort of my piece on it. And I came out liking Rhaenyra just as much as I ever have. I think she still might be my favorite character, but yeah. Your thoughts on
But what do you think about in that perspective? You say that her duty makes her not go with Criston, right? Is that what your conclusion was?
I would think it would be a combination of a lot of this, but she was going to fall back on that at the end before he sort of walks away.
Because I can see why, if you're giving like a charitable view of Rhaenyra, like I can see how you could side with her in this and see how she's making a good choice. But I guess what about Criston in that situation? Like, what do you think about him? Like, is she not doing something to...
Real quick, I think my stream might have just died because I'm getting red lights. Can you hear me? Is my Discord also dying, or am I coming through clear?
I can hear you on Discord, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're back, everybody. We had internet issues. I don't know how much of that I kept in and how much of that I edited. Now we just got a whole thing side for chat here next to Rhaenyra's face that'll never get used. It wasn't getting used too much anyway. But anyway, we were talking about Criston, Colin, Rhaenyra, and conflict, and Judy, and her maybe telling him about Aegon's prophecy, maybe as a reason why she has to, by Judy, stay and try and unite the kingdom or something. And I believe, Ari, you were saying something about that.
Yeah, I was just asking about how... I was saying how, from your perspective, or from... I guess I can see why you would side with Rhaenyra, or see her, what she's choosing as a decent choice, I guess. But what about Criston's perspective in that decision? Like, does it not make her... Isn't that, like, just she's making the worst choice for him possible, I guess?
Yeah, she is, I guess. Because he wants more of it, right? Because clearly... she's not cutting him out completely. She just wants him to be her whore, if you want to be very uncharitable. I don't know. That line wasn't... There wasn't anything wrong with that line. I was just like, what a bitch boy thing to say. Shut up.
No, I even like that line.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be better for her to cut him off? Because then he wouldn't feel as bad as being a whore and constantly going against his vows to the Kingsguard, right?
It's a little bit more
complicated. It feels like she's putting him in a situation where it's like... He's being, I don't know, he obviously doesn't want this. The way he framed it was, he's like, I've been feeling terrible basically about like how I betrayed my vow, and now the only way I can accept it is if I leave and we just leave all of this and I can create a new vow with you in marriage and we can move past everything. But I don't know. I think I felt bad for him. You know?
I think specifically when he brings that up, he's like, I've forsaken everything for you, but you won't do it for me. When he's talking about like the White Cloak, like that's what meant something to me, and I gave the chastity up to be with you, but you won't give up
that's a good point. Yeah,
heirship. What's it called? I don't know. For me, but yeah, it is like a shitty situation. I don't know. They could still make it work in secret or something. Jamie did it. I guess that ended up causing a bunch of wars and bad stuff and bad kids. Yeah. But
I'm sure it's possible.
It's definitely, you definitely come out. It's not the ideal situation on either end, probably. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't really blame Rhaenyra for it. I was just like, well, this is kind of the situation. And I guess I was never invested in the long term of this relationship because I know where things are going. Maybe.
Yeah.
But even then. I was loving them together last episode, right? I liked him better than Ari did. He was like, this sex nonsense, get it over and done with. But
yep.
Maybe the fleetingness of it was part of the reason why I loved it so much. How romantic. But I guess that's all for that particular scene. This then develops into a bunch of things. I guess we could talk about the Alicent Criston Cole scene now.
Wait. Before that.
Oh yeah.
So this whole there was the broken footman talks to Alicent. Right?
Ah yes, I actually have a note about this too. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know. I made notes when I was going, but they're not organized anywhere.
Yeah.
But I mean, essentially, it was very forward of him. Like he is clearly trying to manipulate her, but like not being subtle about it at all. I don't know. It's interesting, and I don't know what he stands to gain from it either.
Mr. Larys Strong here, of course, son of the hand of the king. So maybe Mr. Strong is not that much different than Mr. Hightower. And he's got his little minions around doing things, influencing people, telling people things. Now, I don't think he ever lies.
That is the impression I got
in that scene. Now, he doesn't have a broken foot. He has a club foot, right? His foot is deformed. It's not broken.
Sorry.
It's not going to heal.
Right. It's permanent.
Or will it? Now, that was a good little reference. Ari thinks it's a joke. He doesn't even think I'm foreshadowing.
All right.
What did I write down for this Larys Strong fella? Now, Larys, obviously, he seems to be dealing in secrets, and his name is one letter removed from Varys. So, what a parallel that is. I actually talked about this in general, talking about a bunch of other things. And connecting it back to the original show. Now, I think we should specifically talk about the details of this scene before we talk about trends and things. It is interesting. He basically, Alicent finds out Rhaenyra lied to her, basically. Which she kind of did, kind of didn't, because specifically she asked about Daemon, and he didn't lie about Daemon. But then this is found out when she talks to Criston, but she's still very unhappy with Rhaenyra, clearly. Obviously her dad got fired and she's also not happy about that. And then she shows up to Rhaenyra's wedding looking hotter than Rhaenyra, and that's not good. These girls don't like that stuff. It was a very Hermione Granger Goblet of Fire moment as she walks in.
Oh, that is exactly what I was thinking. And I was thinking throughout that whole scene where like the houses are coming in, it's like all the Hogwarts, like not Hogwarts,
I
all
didn't
the
even
wizarding
take it that
schools coming
far,
in.
Yeah.
It felt exactly like it's so funny we both thought of that.
Yeah. And she comes in green, obviously. Now, Minty's been making a big deal about the color of our clothes. Initially, they were green because green is Hightower, and then they started to become red and black because that's Targaryen colors. And now she is back to a green stance as she is seemingly... She looks over at Viserys a bunch in this episode as if she's disgusted with him. She's becoming more of a player very clearly, and it seems like maybe her loyalty is with her bloodline more than with Rhaenyra or with Rhaenyra's father. And probably more in her children. We do see her with Helena again. Did you notice that it was girl clothes this time, Ari? Or did you just be like, oh, another baby? Didn't even notice.
You know what? I don't even know what you're talking about. Which baby was this?
At the very beginning of the Criston Cole scene, before he comes in, she's got a baby on her lap.
Oh, okay.
It's the exact same clothes as last time too.
So it is a girl. All right.
Miss Helena Targaryen.
Beautiful.
But yes, she's still only got 2 kids.
Oh, they talked about the last names. I don't know if we want to diverge.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay. Let's keep going. Alicent and Criston.
First of all, hold on. Larys and Alicent.
Yes.
Also, they talk about plants, which is a big meme thing, theory thing. I don't know if I want to go into Lemongate right now, but they say like, oh, this plant shouldn't be growing at this climate. And now you see there's a big to-do about Dany remembering in her memories as a very small child to be a lemon tree, but she believes she grew up in Bravos, and lemon trees don't grow in Bravos. Thus, Lemongate is a big conspiracy theory that Dany's memories have been fucked with, and she's not who she thinks she is, and maybe she's actually the baby at the Tower of Joy. Everything's being changed around and stuff. And there's also a bunch of callbacks in this. Like, there's an Arya chapter where somebody yells at somebody and calls them an idiot for thinking that lemon trees grow in Bravos. So it's like, there's something afoot with this Daenerys backstory. Was Viserys lying to her? Is she just some common girl that they picked up at some point? A bunch of different theories come from that, but this was... I don't want to say it was clearly a reference to these types of theories, because it almost certainly wasn't, but those theory people, my brain went off when I saw it. I was like, so this plant shouldn't be growing at this climate, but it is, so maybe there was just one lemon tree in Bravos, and we're overthinking this. But this is a whole different thing. Lemongate is a big meme. I just had to bring it up. There's no way you're going to have any insight into that. But it's a
actually,
thing.
I was thinking about that. No, no idea. But
yes, it was in that Larys Strong scene. I was like, But he is also clearly stirring the pot a little bit. It's unclear him and his father's relationship at this point, because we've really only seen him by himself. Now, in the brawl later, Larry Strong looks to his other son, Breakbones Harwin, and basically sends him in to clean shit up, and he starts beating up 17 people at a time, which was a really cool scene.
It was awesome.
So they seem to be more on the same situation, same mind. They are of the same mind.
Wavelength.
They're on the wavelengths. Yes, we don't know about little Larys here.
Yep.
He's a developing story. He will be in it more, if you couldn't tell, moving forward. But this then goes into the Criston Cole scene. And basically he confesses immediately to Alicent. And I this was another scene where I was like, oh, this is so cool. I don't know, just again, building off the Rhaenyra Criston stuff, I guess it gets me every time. I was like, oh, this is fucking sick. He's just admitting to it. What the fuck? It's kind of crazy. Now, I have personally had a theory that Alicent and Criston are going to end up fucking. And I was like, if they ever were, this was the scene to do it, and they didn't do it, so I think my theory's dead. That's not in the books anywhere. That was just a vibe. Me and Minty talked about this a little bit, and I was like, I think it's going to happen. Because then Alicent will finally not be fucking some old man, but I don't think that's happening. But that's what I was thinking about the whole scene, especially when she made him sit next to him. I was like, oh, they're getting close. But actually, that was just so she could stand up and be the powerful one looking down on him. That was cool. But did you have anything specific to say about this scene? I think you were going to go into a thing or not?
Criston and Alicent? Not really. I think firstly, I agree with all that. Actually, not all of that. I didn't get the impression that they were going to sleep together.
Yeah, this was not.
I certainly see that happening.
This is I don't think.
I guess for me, the thing that stood out to me is how Criston was talking about how, like, instead of torturing me, just kill me.
Oh yeah, he wants to die.
Which I was like, oh okay, yeah, fair enough. I understand.
Love a boy so damn bad he wants to die. Hashtag relatable.
Much.
We love him. But
And then I guess in that situation, I mean, I figured it out eventually, but my initial reaction was like, why does this bother her so much? And I guess it's just because Rhaenyra lied to her. So fair enough.
There's also, I think it has to build on because this was like my working theory last week, because remember I was like, why was she mad at Rhaenyra in the God's Word? And I was like, how silly. But it seems, and the more I think about it, it seems to be, there is a jealousy, I think, from Alicent that Rhaenyra gets to go out and have all this fun and fuck all these pretty boys, and she's stuck with the king, and like she's done everything she's supposed to, while Rhaenyra continues to, like, I wouldn't say fuck up, because none of them are really actually fuck ups, but play around basically, and she seems to not be punished for it. And it's like a jealousy of like the girl that goes out every weekend and the one that stays at home, and it's like but there's a growing resentment. Definitely there's a split, believe it or not. And Criston seems,
I believe it,
to be switching sides. Incredible stuff. This is something we'll talk about more at the end, I think, but one of my notes is like, it'd be interesting to compare predictions from your end, from like the first episode to like episode 5, and then again when season 1 finishes, when the sides are pretty much confirmed, because the show did such a good job with initially making you think like, oh, it's going to be Rhaenyra versus Daemon, and like the whole first episode functions around that. It's like, I wouldn't be so sure, fellas, but it's just such clever, and like Criston has clearly been on Rhaenyra's side the whole time, and it doesn't look like that's where he'll end up being. It's just, I don't know, from my end of knowing like the whole picture, it was interesting to spend like these early episodes with different characters who perhaps later will be at odds being together. It's all cute and stuff.
No, that is true. I think this is very unique to this show, where it's just, because there's so much time being spanning. It feels like anything can change. Like the next episode could have such a drastic change. It's crazy.
We're gonna have
like, I mean, to me personally, Viserys survived for so long.
He's still going.
Well, we'll see.
He's falling. He's bleeding everywhere, though.
Yeah, the rats are feasting on his blood.
But yeah. So that's all the Criston stuff. But before the feast, I guess we should talk about the Driftmark stuff before we get into the other stuff, since it kind of leads into it. We basically get the introduction as they're walking up. While they're on the ship, Viserys is vomiting everywhere. How long did it take you to realize that Mr. Strong had the pin on? Was it immediate? Did you see it in that
A
first
few seconds
scene in the ship or later? Because I actually didn't notice.
Absolutely, in that first.
Because I know he becomes Hand of the King next, so I was like, oh, he's probably already there. But I didn't notice the pin, and then I went back and actually rewinded to see if he had it in the first scene. I was like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. I noticed when he took out the tissue thing.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's the first scene.
But yeah, that is
Handkerchief
the first scene.
genius.
Yep. They arrive on Driftmark. It's a pretty cool looking place. High Tide, cool. I believe the castle is called. My goodness, I know everything. Joffrey and Joffrey and Rhaenyra are sparring outside, and that's not an innuendo. As they arrive, then Rhaenyra comes out. She's a lot older. It's all cool. The most interesting thing in this section, right? Well, first of all, the fact that the Kingsguard didn't go with Viserys into like wherever he was going was kind of like, I don't know if that's good. Like Corlys could just kill him and they'd be fucked. Yeah. But Corlys didn't. What a
family.
Nice now, this scene is very interesting. First off, Corlys makes him walk through and come to his seat and everything like that. Very much a power play. And then he bows and they're doing the back and forth. Viserys is coughing. Corlys looks like a big, strong man. They definitely planned for Rhaenys to come in after the fact. There's no way she just chanced into that, right? And Rhaenys' characterization here was very interesting because she was very different here than she was with her initial conversation. Well, not even her initial conversation. I think it's episode 2, her conversation with Rhaenyra, where she seems very like bitter and stern almost. And here she's like excited to see her cousin and everything. Did this? Were you curious about this at all, or was this just something you?
I mean, I just assumed she was just, I don't know,
playing it.
Obviously, I didn't think she was being genuine in her excitement of seeing her cousin. Thing. But I mean, maybe she is. I just didn't get that. But
she does always call him cousin, which is interesting. Actually, I think she does say Your Grace a few times. I was going to say she never calls him Your Grace, but she actually says in this scene when she's alone with Corlys, actually, that she's sort of put that stuff behind her, which is interesting. Yeah. Probably not entirely true, but at least outwardly, it is more true than I think I suspected. But I did my note here. One of them, I've only got like 6 of them. One of them is about Rhaenys' characterization being different. She seemed happy, but again, Corlys the whole time doesn't come off as happy. He sort of comes off as firm. I guess maybe they're doing good cop, bad cop stuff here. But yeah, this sort of goes into the show is a lot. This sounds inherently like I'm shitting on the original show, but I'm not in love with subtlety as much as I used to be. So this whole show is a lot more subtle, I think, than the original Game of Thrones. But the subtlety isn't really subtle. Like, it's pretty obvious what's happening. I feel like, and this ties back into the Alicent Varys scene earlier, where it's like Varys and Littlefinger would have these scenes in the throne room where they would just be like remarkably honest with each other, and obviously these were show only scenes because neither one of them are POV characters in the books, so we would never see them alone talking, looking at the throne, as they both imply that they very directly that they both want to sit on the throne. Like even in season 1 there's like a scene where Littlefinger tells Varys that he saw him with Illyrio in like leaving and the Pentoshi stuff, and I was like, my God, Varys would like kill him immediately in the book if he ever said that to him. But they're just very honest with each other in certain ways. And I think I've talked about this in previous weeks where original Game of Thrones was a lot more self-aware and sort of funny in its dialogue. Like they really wouldn't do the honorifics too much. And if they ever did them, Tyrion would like make fun of them. And like Tywin would just look at him if he didn't do it. Whereas in this show, they are very like, they say all the things. They're very... I guess I actually have the end of my note is there are more fake bitches in House of the Dragon where they all have a face on, which in Game of Thrones, like everybody would make fun of the fact that you're supposed to have a face on in all those scenes, and they would all always be very honest. And this leads to a lot more visceral dialogue scenes in the original show that I think are very good in their own ways, whereas the show sort of goes, and there are very few moments where sort of you get visceral reactions from characters and they sort of stand out more. The Rhaenys scene in episode 2 would probably be one of those where they are being strikingly honest with each other. But I again, this isn't either one is better. It's just very different, and I like them both a lot. But this scene was a big one of that, where clearly they're having a fight here, but it's never really made explicit. It's all hidden behind faces and honorifics and how you're supposed to say things and things like that. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting and. Just the different tacks they're taking and sort of the dialogue writing. It does feel more book from the the half of Game of Thrones that I've read. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a very different change. I feel like the Tyrion stuff, especially towards the back end of the show, and the self-awareness levels did get like sort of out of control and annoying a little bit. So it might be an overcorrection for that. But yeah, this is interesting. Is this anything you noticed, or is this just a Kyle monologue?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, okay, maybe not in this scene particularly, but the shows as a whole, I absolutely feel it. Like, this feels like a very different show from Game of Thrones. But, like, I guess, yeah, in the ways you're saying. But I'm not sure if it's, like I think I brought this up in a previous thing, where I feel like more it's the, either the characters or the relationships that we're following are different here than they were in Game of Thrones, I guess.
It feels much more familial in, like, as in family, not familiar, in the show, which it is true. It is a much smaller group of people. And it feels like we are fleshing out relationships quicker and in more depth than in the original show a lot, because we would cut around, obviously, more. Like, Rhaenyra is in nearly every scene in all 5 of these episodes. Or, like, if she's not in that scene, she'll be in the next scene. Where obviously there was more.
Well, okay, how about, without spoiling it, I guess, maybe you can't answer this without spoiling it, but who is your main character at the moment that you're like, yeah, this is the main character we're following?
I feel like...
Would you say it's Rhaenyra?
Yeah, I feel like Rhaenyra is sort of the... When you think of the Dance of Dragons, you think of Rhaenyra, and it's sort of her story, I guess. But I guess, even in the original show, like, I guess by the end, and I guess overall, it's Tyrion, Dany, and Jon's story, and Sansa and Arya are hanging around. But yeah, even then, it's 3 characters.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, in the book, it could be Bran's story, right? If they shape it more.
Well, I've seen a bunch of charts of like characters with the most chapters and most pages, and I think actually it's Tyrion and Sansa, and Bran is like in the middle.
Oh wow!
So, he's gonna put in more Bran chapters if he wants that to be the best story.
Beautiful, love it.
But yeah.
We haven't seen Bran yet in House of the Dragon.
He's coming, all right. It's going to be a cool dream sequence. It's going to be the last episode
every
of the
scene
season.
Is in front of that tree. Can you believe it?
Yeah,
it is true. They use that set a lot.
There is no Godswood in King's. There is no Weirwood in King's Landing. I'm pretty sure. I think that is added for the show, so it could be added to have Bran.
Or have the Night King look through it somehow. Oh my goodness!
But he tries to destroy the trees, right? He beats up the 3-eyed crow.
Yeah, but he
kills
needs
him dead.
I don't know. True. He was created at a tree.
That is true too. Remember that? What a wacky... That Night King fella. How wacky.
It's awesome, isn't it? My goodness.
I wonder if we'll also... If somebody's going to have a vision of him. If Viserys he's dying.
There's no way.
Has these dreams and he's like, this fucking kid with the wheelchair, Lamau. That'd be cool. But probably not going to happen. What are we talking about? Night King. Rhaenyra, main character. Differences in dialogue and character stuff.
Yes, that's right. Rhaenys and Corlys.
Yes. So they agree. Oh, I guess this is where we can get into the second name stuff you wanted to. So what were you going to say about that?
Crazy. Because, I mean, we were talking about this before the episode about, like, why is it Rhaenys Targaryen? And I guess this confused me even more. Because in this episode, they talk about how it's tradition in Westeros to take your husband's name.
That's not what they said. They said that the kids take the husband's name. Because they don't say the...
Is it?
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, Jesus Christ. All right, yeah.
Because obviously their kids will be Velaryons in name, but Viserys is saying they can be until they sit on the throne. If they ever do after Rhaenyra, then they have to become Targaryens.
Kyle, you're a genius. Are you paying attention? My goodness.
Yes, because we did have a very much conversation about this, about how Cersei's name never changes, and Mr. R, I think, made the unchallenged, undefeatable point that it seems like only queens and princesses don't change their last names, but everybody else does, because Catelyn is not Catelyn Tully, she is Catelyn Stark.
Crazy.
Cersei is still Cersei Lannister, even though she's married to a Baratheon. And Rhaenys here is a princess, so when she gets married to Corlys, her name is not Rhaenys Velaryon.
Yeah. Well, look at that. It's all cleared up now. It all comes together. All right.
But yes, that was interesting, because I don't know if that's ever clarified in the books, that if one of their children becomes king, they have to become a Targaryen. Now, actually, no, I guess that the implication for what I was about to say was a spoiler. I'm very good at catching myself.
Look at you.
But yes, I don't think there's more I can say about this.
Well, I guess, I have one more thing I want to say, which is about why Viserys as a character is so hesitant to give up the Targaryen name. Like why is it so important that the dynasty not end with Rhaenyra? And I guess it is all tying back to that vision is really what I see. And also it's a mix of just, I imagine,
it's an ego thing,
and yeah.
I feel like even like if I was to get married and she didn't want to take my last name, I feel like I would be fine with that. But I don't know, the kid's not having the last name. You can do the hyphen thing, I guess. Targaryen,
that wouldn't bother me at all. I don't mind.
Getting rid of it completely might. And it is a stupid thing.
Like
I
that
think
also
about this,
wouldn't bother me.
Yeah, because I try to divorce things like that, like silly things that don't matter, like last names or whatever. It's all arbitrary is sort of how I would come to it. But then I think of like, would I rather adopt a kid or actually have like a kid be of your genes? And I feel like I always come back to, I think there's some part of me, some weird natural part of me. I don't know. Natural seems to imply that it's right. Which is not what I'm trying to do. But there's like I guess I would probably prefer if I didn't adopt and I had an actual kid that was of my genes or whatever, or half of my genes. That's how genes work, right?
Something like that.
Yeah, about something like that. But yeah, so there's like a thing there. So it's probably ego and a bit of that. I don't know. I feel like that's relatable. Of like, got to be a Targaryen. But also they are part Targaryen. Well, they were probably... Well, hold on. So if they're grandchildren, they're a quarter Targaryen inherently because of Rhaenys, but then they're half Targaryen because of Rhaenyra. So is there only 1/4? I don't fucking remember. No, because then there will be half because of the father. But I don't know if he's actually going to be the father because he's gay.
Right.
So yeah.
No, he would be. That was their promise, right?
Yeah. Well, I was talking like genetically, but I guess it wouldn't matter. It would just be in your name. But yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Last names and stuff. It was an interesting conversation. I didn't see that coming. I don't know if that might be just in a Fire and Blood thing I'm not familiar with. But yes. Also, we know that Dany's last name isn't Velaryon, so that would kind of
that's very
spoil
true.
some things if that wasn't if they didn't change it. But we'll see. If they have kids, I guess them having kids is a spoiler. If I imply that we'll meet them later, but I guess we'll meet them later.
Yep.
But yes, there are other things on Driftmark. We meet Laena. We meet. I guess we get Joffrey and Laena hanging out on the sand dune kissing to establish them before we get some face breakage later on. I feel like you feel alright. You're like, this is nice. All right. We don't want him to die. Rhaenyra and him have the walk on the beach where this is actually a thing because in the book Rhaenyra is initially like, I don't want to marry fucking Laenor. Laenor would rather marry one of my brothers, and her brothers are like 10 at the time, so it's a little weird. But she's not happy about it initially because of the gay thing, because everybody seems to know about that. Corlys seems to be in a little bit of denial in the episode. But yeah, it seems to be a more widely known thing beforehand. So Rhaenyra isn't too happy about it. But that's never brought up. So I was like, are we going to have a like wedding night scene? And that's where Rhaenyra is going to find out about it. But it seems like she knew about it anyway. And she's not upset about it at all. Because it means maybe she can continue on with Criston or doing whatever she wants. And so can he come to an understanding. So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of conflict there, I don't think. But did you have any thoughts on... Well, I guess they sort of beat around the bush until the kiss scene. How long did it take you to figure out that he was gay?
No, immediately when Corlys was like, he doesn't... He essentially said, when Corlys and Rhaenys are talking, I'm like, oh, he's gay, interesting.
Okay. But yeah.
But,
Laena.
Yeah, it was interesting. I did not see that coming. It's an interesting dynamic.
It was there were back when the casting things were coming back and they were like, oh, we're going to make the Velaryons gay, and it was like, oh, we can hit on a bunch of more minority points here because Laenor is gay too, and then we're going to diversity here. It was like inbuilt genius idea from the HBO executives.
Well done.
But I guess, are we on to, is there anything we missing anything but the big scene?
Yes, there is one thing we're missing.
Okay, tell me about
which is Otto has a scene. I can't remember if it's just one scene or if he has a few, but he talks to Alicent basically.
Yeah. Prepare Aegon to rule. Very, very direct. Or you have to beg her. That was a great scene. in the rain and everything.
Yeah, it was
sick. It was in the preview, by the way.
Yeah, it's thunder, and then in the preview. Thank God I didn't watch this preview. All right, yeah, it's just an interesting scene because it made me I don't know. It put me more on Otto's side than ever, I guess. Like because in that moment he seemed very like he's very genuine in his desire for the realm to be at peace. Like he didn't like
well,
slight
he
Viserys
manufactured
or
this
like
problem, right? Like he could have told Viserys,
Yeah,
just don't get married again if you really want Rhaenyra to be queen or whatever. But he put himself and his family in this position by having it be Alicent.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I believe that Viserys, for instance, I still think he made the right choice to get rid of Otto. But this endeared me more to Otto than I ever have, I guess.
Yeah,
even if I still am not on his side or anything.
They started that a little bit last episode, and they did it in that scene too, especially with him genuinely hugging her and things like that. It was definitely like, oh, because Otto is sort of cast as like, oh, he's going to be like the slimy bad guy, but they've done well. They're trying to actually do the grey thing, where there really is no absolute bad guys, except for Daemon. What a prick.
Yeah. Wait, before we talk about anything else, have you seen the inside the episode for this?
I have not. I did not watch it. I did watch the preview.
I haven't either.
One, but not the inside the episode.
Okay.
You didn't tweet
Maybe
about it.
They talk about this stuff. Yeah. No, I had actually I made a note on it. Oh, what was it about? Let me see if I can search my notes. See inside. Oh, I was wondering if the scene where not Varys. What's the Larys? Is that his name? Yeah, I was wondering if in that inside the episode they clarify a bit of what's going on there. I'd be interested. I mean, I hope they don't, but I would. It'd be really funny if they did.
What are you wanting?
If, for instance, in that episode, I mean, sorry, not Jesus. In that scene, it's very clear that he's manipulating her, right? At least in my opinion.
Well, manipulating implies that she doesn't understand, but I feel like she very much understands what's happening there, and it's just sort of like him clearly wants her to be mad at Rhaenyra, but she's not completely blind to him, I don't think. But maybe you had.
Okay, that's one interesting thing. But I was wondering if what they did similarly last time, where they told us in the inside the episode thing that Otto really cares for Viserys, if they'll come here and they'll be like, oh, Larys actually does care for Alicent or something, and I'd be interested if they would say stuff like that. Because that would change a lot. I hope they don't, but we'll get to that eventually when I watch it.
So you are gonna watch it?
Oh yeah, I need to see what terrible things how they ruined this show for me.
I'll probably have to now too. But yeah. Oh, just quickly on Joffrey. I guess. Well, this will transition. Joffrey is from House Longmouth. Lonmouth. Lon, then Mouth.
Interesting.
I looked up the House Longmouth page on the wiki because I was pretty sure it was a Vale House, but I was confusing it with House Lips because he calls himself the Knight of Kisses or whatever, and House Lips, believe it or not, in the Vale, their sigil has lips on it, so I got confused. But there's only one other notable Lonmouth in any lore Game of Thrones thing on the wiki page. It's very short. It's just lover to Laenor Velaryon, killed by Sir Criston Cole. And then Rhaegar's squire was a Longmouth, and there's a big theories about the fact that this is Lem Lemoncloak, who actually is in Game of Thrones. He is the one that sacks the Hound's village. He has a yellow coat on, and then the Hound goes to get revenge. But Beric Dondarrion and the gang already are executing him. Now, in the book, there is speculation that he is Rhaegar's old squire because of a bunch of things that happen that are incidental and sort of he's likened to Kisses a bunch, and it's because he's from House Longmouth or something. It's just a weird theory. So, if anything, because Fire and Blood again is sort of a text of sort of a bunch of hints to potentially what could happen because there are a bunch of parallels like Varys Strong and Larys. So the way Larys goes out might be the way Varys goes out, though I'm not spoiling either of those things.
Yep.
But even the part because I'm currently reading Fire and Blood, but I'm still at the beginning. Oris Baratheon gets his hand chopped off, and it's and he's a great fighter, so it's that's a Jaime meme. And then in his old age, Mr. Baratheon grows bitter and wants war and stuff. So is that the way Jaime's going to go? And it sort of hints. Now the big thing about Fire and Blood is women getting fucked over a lot. Which is obviously supposed to be a Dany parallel. So it's how is this going to lead in? How can we inform this into this? It's a neat little game that Fire and Blood plays of it's like an added meta layer, I guess. But yeah. Why did I bring that up? That was going to tie into something brilliantly. and we were talking about Joffrey.
It's about Joffrey.
Oh, obviously Joffrey himself is another like parallel, right? Because Joffrey dies at a wedding here, just like Joffrey.
Oh
died
my
at a
goodness!
wedding.
That didn't even cross my mind. That's a genius thing. Okay, yeah.
Fuck, there was something else though that I was gonna tie it all into. Rhaegar's squire being Lem.
Criston.
Oh, it was going to be like, is Lem and Cloak gonna have some big role eventually because he, I don't know, maybe he would be gay for Rhaegar or something. John Connington in the book is a character that was gay for Rhaegar and is a pretty big character. So maybe there are a bunch of parallels here. That's just a little thingy. But House Lonmouth. Lonmouth, I feel like I'm saying it wrong every time, but I can say it in my head correctly. Sometimes that's all that matters. But yes, I guess this is where we talk about him. He kind of threatened Criston Cole and deserved what he got, right? Are we on Criston Cole's side here or no?
Oh boy.
Or was he just jealous? Was it an incel moment?
So what happened? Yeah. So my understanding of the situation here is that he goes and he essentially tells Criston not to say anything, and then he won't say anything. So it's like a mutual, keep our secrets.
There's actually a scene beforehand where he points out to Laenor that he's figured out who Rhaenyra's thingy is, which was actually interesting, and I kind of like how they did that. Of like Criston's looking over all the time, and he's very mad and very sad.
Yeah.
But in that scene, it seems like Laenor and Joffrey intend to like fuck with him a little bit. Like Laenor seems to have he hasn't had any grey moments or bad moments. That was the most like bad moment he's had, where he was sort of like they were sort of like laughing at it, and I don't know. They made a joke about how he's like it was cunt something.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what they said. It was funny.
Yeah, cunt obsessed or something.
I don't remember, but it wasn't that specifically. But that was the idea. Because the gay dude's making fun of you for being pussy whipped, because they'd never. It's kind of funny. But yeah, so that scene was like I was a little like, fuck these guys a little bit. Didn't really. I didn't get that impression. You didn't get that at all. Maybe I also missed it because I was like. It didn't make me like want him to die or anything, but the threat, I guess. The threat.
No, I just thought it was interesting, like as tying them together as they're close. They're talking at this guy's wedding about things they're noticing. I don't know.
Oh, it also like very much reminds me of the scene at Joffrey's wedding where Larys and Jaime talk to each other kind of about the same thing. About how like the end of that scene is like Jaime tells Larys, "You'll never marry Cersei," and then he goes, "Neither will you," and then he walks away. It's cool. What a time Game of Thrones was.
Goddamn weddings.
Yes. Yeah. Some people are trying to call this the green wedding, but it's like, the people getting married aren't greeny. Anyway, I guess it's after Alicent walking in, but
like the green it
wasn't as monumental
Old Town or whatever
as those other two ones, but yeah. Oh yes, that was a little bit of exposition, but it was a cool bit where the Strong brothers talk to each other and they're like,
"Oh boy,
green for them. She's fighting is basically it. It's like she's mad."
It was straddling the line of like being cringe, but it was
cool enough to get away with it. Where it was like, green flame, right? That's actually kind of cool.
I did like it.
I did like that she went over to her uncle and stuff. The uncle that you forgot in episode 2 when I brought him up.
Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah, I like that she did that.
When I saw him this episode, I was like, oh, is that like the Grand Maester or something of the Citadel? But no, he's just
it's Otto's older brother.
He's wearing a weird outfit,
Lord Hightower, yeah. I didn't realize that the girl that was always with him was his wife, the fat girl. It's kind of funny.
Oh.
Well, I assume it is. I think they say Lord and Lady. The one Kingsguard dude does as he's announcing everybody as they come in.
So much was happening in that wedding. I need to rewatch that whole thing.
Yeah. You are still processing it.
Yeah.
But yes.
Yeah, so Criston and Joffrey talk. And Criston looks like he's about to like pull his blade, but he doesn't. And unless he does at that moment, and I just
because he walks back, I think, later, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on because then Daemon is also involved in this whole situation. I guess before we talk about Daemon, I'm just trying to understand what happened with Criston. So he had a moment there where he could have done something, but he didn't. And then what caused him to go into the crowd and then punch him to death, I guess, is what is confusing.
Yeah.
Like, was there a trigger? Like, why didn't he do it when he threatened him?
I think he probably just stewed on it for a second. Is like, all right, I can't have this dude talking around. Criston, not the smartest bloke, not the quickest thinking. He had to take a moment, I guess.
That's true.
Because the way it's shot, it's actually really interesting. Now, obviously, I knew who was fighting, but did it take you were you like, oh, who's fighting?
Absolutely. I was so confused. I thought Daemon was punching Rhaenyra is what I thought. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Because it is right after that, right? Because Daemon and Rhaenyra have the very sexy moment in the middle where she's basically telling him to wildling her and capture her and make her his wife.
I love it, and the tension there is so high as well because you're like, if they kiss here and everyone's watching, and what could happen?
But the implication is they might have kissed, right? Because Viserys' vision.
Oh
is
the head cuts it off. Yeah.
It was
I love that.
It's
so great.
Rhaenyra and Daemon is still a developing story. All right.
I'm sure it is. But that was the first impression that I was like, okay, he's beating Rhaenyra for some reason, and then I thought Criston was beating Daemon, and I was like, oh, I get that. That makes a lot of sense. They're about to kiss, he's jealous or whatever. And I couldn't tell until the very end of the scene.
Is that the trigger? I never even thought about that. Was he mad because he saw Daemon kissing her, and then he just like took out his anger on the nearest bloke, and it happened to be Joffrey?
Oh, that makes a
I don't think that's actually what happened.
But I think that would make a lot of sense.
Was that right after? Like,
well, they're about to kiss, and then the fighting starts.
Okay, yeah.
Which, I mean, that personally, I think that does make a lot of sense.
Should we talk about
all his frustration bubbling up in that moment?
My meme, some things were changed things here, because we
haven't. Yeah.
The time skip is happening. We're time skipping a bit. We got older actresses next time, so I assume this is not going to happen later. Because this actually changes a bit. Joffrey dies in the melee at the tourney. Now the melee is like a big 20 blokes getting in like a thingy in the tourney field and fight. That's what the melee is.
Yep.
Because they have
which one is this for the wedding?
For the wedding. So they actually do have the 7 days of celebration in the book.
Okay.
Because it seems the implication with the last scene is that they got everybody out, everybody's really sad because there was literally death and shit here, so we're just going to quickly do the wedding and then we're going to call everything else off. I think that was the implication, because otherwise why would they have it? Because they weren't going to have the vow stuff there, because they were like, oh, this is the first day and on the 7th day they'll get married or whatever and they'll do the vow celebration thingy. But they shoehorn that in because they're still wiping the blood off each other and Laenor's very sad. The scream after he dies, in case we don't get back to that, was really good, and especially since he's supposed to keep a face, because if your bro dies, I don't know, it was very much a lover scream dead scream.
Yeah,
it was really good. Especially when he doesn't see it and then he turns the face and then he sees it. Oh my goodness, how well shot was that?
But just the gruesomeness of it is well done. Yeah,
the change is that Criston hits him with a Morning Star in the melee. Now in the melee, usually people don't die in the melee, so it's kind of concerning, and it's like, oh, he might have been trying to get at Laenor because maybe he didn't know Laenor was gay. He has to have targeted Joffrey, so that doesn't make much sense. But he's trying to hurt Rhaenyra or something. In the tourney, he supposedly wears Alicent's favor to show that he's switching sides and stuff against Rhaenyra, even though he had always worn Rhaenyra's favor previously. Because again, in the book, there's a 25-year age difference between Criston Cole and Rhaenyra, so it's a little bit weirder.
Right.
And the Alicent age gap and everything.
But
also, Breakbones, Mr. Harwin Strong, his name isn't Breakbones because he breaks bones. His name is Breaksbone because Criston Cole fucks him up in the melee here and breaks his bones. What? And so the mocking name Breakbones is not because he's the biggest, toughest bloke, but because Criston fucked him up because, hold on, we might have, Criston fucked him up for tentative reasons that I am not going to elaborate on here, that was implied to have happened, but must be done later after the time skip.
Oh, exciting.
But yes, Mushroom, there was a midget, and I was like, oh my god, he was playing the thingy. I'm like, is Mushroom happening? But Mushroom calls him Breakbones to mock him. So yeah, he's not but apparently he is a big, tough, strong bloke, because again, he's supposed to be a mountain parallel, and he's supposed to be big and tall. But he looks like Bronn.
His name is Breakbones.
But he's he's sexy, but he's not a.
And he pushes back 15 people in the wedding. It's great.
And because I was like, oh, when he went in, I was like, oh, here we go. I guess we're doing it all at this feast thingy rather than at the tourney field. Watch it be like
That's
a
a very
flashback
strange
at the beginning of the next
change.
episode where it shows all this, and I did actually spoil things. But I think it's a weird change because they call him Breakbones in episode 2, and initially no, it's episode 3 because it's the hunt, and I was like, he shouldn't be called Breakbones yet, and the reason they give is different. But yeah,
it would be interesting to have a flashback, I guess, like to recontextualize what we think of Criston, I guess.
The preview alludes.
I don't want to know the preview. No preview
bit,
stuff.
But yeah, we'll talk about it next week.
We're not
this will
talking
come
about
back
it. I don't
up next
know.
week, but I think it'll be very
We'll
different.
talk about it then.
Yeah. But there are some changes. So this happening at a wedding feast. Now in the preview it showed like a fight at the wedding feast. What's interesting is that they were just random blokes. No, the preview for last week. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
It's weird that there were random blokes that were just like throwing Rhaenyra around. You'd think like the king consort, you would not have random guards throwing her around. That was kind of weird.
I was kind of surprised how no one rushed in for Rhaenyra quicker, I guess. Like you'd figure there would be a lot of like Kingsguard there trying to immediately get to
Viserys
her.
is trying to figure. Viserys keeps saying, "Where's Rhaenyra?" or whatever, which is what a nice father.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and I guess she was with Daemon.
It could have been a nice moment for the old dude because we only really get insight into their relationship in episode 1, where it seems like they're close. But other than that, the commander of the Kingsguard, Harold Westley, I remember his name. That could have been cool, but obviously we got to get Harwin's got some screen time, and he went in and grabbed her.
Yep.
But
broke some bones.
Yes, some faces perhaps. Bones are in the face, break bones, Lamel. But yes, they did change that a little bit. It was interesting. We'll see.
It's a very interesting change.
They've changed a bunch of little
things. It feels
things.
like a big deal.
Like
that. I mean, that doesn't feel like a small thing. Like it's a pretty big change to have such a major turning point be different, right?
Yeah, but for more reasons that are spoilers.
Okay, we'll talk about it then later.
They changed other things, like an episode. I don't think the birthing thing and the Criston Cole Daemon duel. I don't think those happen like any time around each other. So that's like a change. They like connected those two events in episode 1. So there's been a few changes. Obviously the Alicent Rhaenyra relationship in the book is completely different because it's like evil stepmother and princess rather than best friends that break up. But yeah, so there have been a bunch of changes, and I really like the Alicent Rhaenyra one. I think it's sick, but this one we'll see. There are ways to get the characterization in later, I think.
Okay.
But I think that's all my notes, and I'm sure there's some things we haven't talked about. The rat at the end licking up the blood, that was wacky.
Yep. That was good. That was a lot of blood.
Yeah.
Well, oh my god, I'm a fool.
You thought it was Viserys' blood.
It's all coming together. Yeah, I thought it was Viserys' blood.
No, it's Joffrey's blood.
Oh my goodness. Jesus Christ. All right, I get it now. I get it.
He had a mushy Oberyn face. How pretty.
So this whole time, I thought I was like, yeah, Viserys is.
I saw somebody else say something like that, but I haven't watched any videos yet, and I don't think it was anybody in the Discord. Maybe it was just like a Twitter thing, but yeah, I saw somebody else like that saying he was looking up Viserys' blood. I'm like,
Yeah, so I'm gonna have a bunch of miscellaneous comments in this talk here, where everyone's like, "What's he talking about?"
Yeah,
great, love it.
But yes, Viserys is bleeding all over the place. We see his arm; it's all fucked up. Oh, that scene with Harwin. No, not Harwin. Lionel Strong is cute, where he's like, maybe I should have tried to conquer some shit or something and tested and become a better person or a better conqueror or somebody that they'll sing about. That was a neat scene, and he's like resides. He takes solace in the fact that Mr. Strong doesn't bullshit him and say, "Oh yeah, you would have conquered like Aegon, Lamau." That was a neat little scene. Their relationship is interesting.
He says, "You're right, like you always are."
Yeah,
and he is.
Is he now? Well, he's scheming a little bit though.
No, he is. He certainly is scheming with his 2 children.
Is there anything else, or are we actually not going to get caught off?
Goodness.
I did get the first battery thing, but
let me have a look at my amazing notes here, which I have not read over once.
Because I had notes, I haven't looked at binge once. Oh, Criston nearly kills himself at the end, and that's a thingy. But
that's true.
That blends into stuff we already talked about. Alicent stops him, that's the last chronological scene, probably with young Alicent. which is interesting that it's a very important moment with Criston. Criston Cole not getting recast, by the way. Though in the original trailers, he does look quite a bit older. They just styled his hair a little different, but we'll get to that.
Yep.
But yeah, and then the last young Rhaenyra scene is the wedding vows. They said the whole thing. I don't remember them saying
no one's
the whole
happy
thing.
about it.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, and then Viserys collapses at the end. I guess the implication could be that he's dying right there.
Well, that's what caused my confusion, because he collapses and then we zoom to the blood, and I was like, oh, he's been bleeding this whole time, walking up to that thing.
Oh, okay.
I was like, where's all his blood come from? Is he dripping blood that much? Like, Jesus. But it all makes sense now. But
did Viserys just die? Is he finally dead?
Surely, right? I mean, I'm guessing you know the answer, but I feel like he's well beyond his role in this story. I guess he could be a debilitated king, like just lying in bed all day now. But yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's probably dead, but we'll see.
Well, I will say nothing because my tone might give something away.
Yes, of course.
I'm looking at Jason Lannister walking up. That was funny.
Oh yes, Jason Lannister. What a jerk! What a great joke about
he gets some in
joke
too,
about the
where
women.
he's like, "Oh, I couldn't think of a better man than Rhaenyra," and he says something in response. And I was like, "Okay, he's not giving up." But
yep.
We talked about Alicent's entrance. Jason. They're all dancing. It's cute. Harwin was dancing with Rhaenyra for a little bit. How interesting.
I feel like a lot of people probably would have been in that situation. There was a lot of dancing in that wedding.
That's also
a
big
banquet
thing in the books all the time. Sansa goes through like the list of people she dances with, and I think like Ashara Dane at the old tourney, the big tourney where at Harrenhal where Rhaegar and Lyanna meet or whatever, she dances with a bunch of people and everybody. That's like a list of things, and it's important who she danced with and whatever.
Dance of Dragons.
A different thing entirely, but yes, dragons do be dancing.
Yes.
Viserys fell over getting out of the chariot thing. And Alicent watches it, and she doesn't look too concerned. So it was the first step in Alicent being like, maybe fuck this old man.
Yep.
And not literally.
Yep.
I feel like we talked about everything. I'm scrolling through here.
Viserys' hand or arm is like gone basically. If he does survive, then they should definitely chop that off. I don't know why they haven't yet. Crazy.
Chopping arms off.
Daemon doesn't have grayscale yet. I think he's good his prospects.
They did. I definitely think some people are going to be like, does Viserys have grayscale? Because it kind of looked like it. But
it did look a little bit, yeah.
He's got
Daemon gave it to him.
He's just got infected cuts and stuff.
I thought of something.
Them riding in on their dragons is another thing. We see Rhaenys. They never did a close up, and Laena was not on a dragon. That might come later.
So okay, my question here is what I don't know if I meant to understand this and I missed it, but what's the public story with Otto? Like, do people know that he was like dismissed for bad reasons, or does he like? Do people think he was just like mutually like
probably whisper about it? But I don't know what would be the thing
like because his family showed up to the wedding, right? And they were like, "Oh, with what happened?"
He definitely told them because he's probably living with them now, right? He's probably back in Old Town, so
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I assume he tells his older brother everything, but yeah, they would know, I'm guessing. But they're clearly still scheming and things like that. It is interesting that Criston Cole went out to the Godswood to maybe try and kill himself, like some weird sacrifice, Children of the Forest thing. I wonder if that's a parallel that'll come back or something. Will we see any Children of the Forest in House of the Dragon?
I hope so. I hope we see White Walkers too, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
Sad thing.
The Children is a maybe. The White Walkers, I'm probably sure we're not. But
yeah.
Because otherwise,
I mean, they're too afraid for everyone will say how bad the show is, and I don't know.
Do you know about the first show that was cancelled that was all about the White Walkers?
Yeah, and I'm devastated. Every day I think, well, not every day. Every time I think of like all the sequels, I'm like, I wish they would make it, but they never will because of the backlash.
Cancelled.
What a sad thing. It's so sad.
It was because when they announced that they're going to do like prequels, everybody's like, well, obviously you would want to do Robert's Rebellion or you'd want to do The Dance. And everybody's like, White Walkers. fuck these White Walkers. So yeah.
Yep, and here I am, the most interesting part of the whole story, and we're never gonna get it.
They ruined it all. But yeah,
Yep.
they didn't even show a close up of Rhaenys on the dragon. It was her on it. I don't know why they didn't do a close up.
Yeah.
But she got a big red dragon. It's really cool. She's gonna fuck somebody up on a dragon one day, and it's gonna be sick.
Yep, I'm sure. There's gonna be a lot of dragons coming up, I'm sure. I just wonder I have no idea what next episode is gonna be like.
Oh,
like if I know there's gonna be a time skip. I don't know how long it is. I mean, honestly, I don't even know if there's a time. It might be at the end of the next episode for all I know the time skip. But
well, the thumbnail of the preview is an older Rhaenyra, so I'm assuming it's gonna be. I think it'll be the beginning.
I'm very nervous. I hope the actors are as good.
It is. I am vaguely nervous too, especially for the actresses. If they show up and people don't like them as much, it's like, oh, that's not a good position to be in. But yeah. I think they're probably much more seasoned actors than the younger version. So assumptions.
But I mean,
would
they've done a great job.
The images of older Rhaenyra have her in similar clothes and stuff, and it is kind of clearly they did well in casting. They look rather similar, like their chins and things like that. It's interesting.
I just hope we don't get a Dufresne situation, from Black Sails.
Yes, we didn't bring up Black Sails until this moment, but I'm glad we did.
All right.
There was also a thing about Laena claiming her particular dragon, who I guess I'm not going to say. But apparently that scene was cut from episode 2, and we always talk about how episode 2 was shorter. And there was also supposedly a cut scene of Alicent and Rhaenyra arguing after she was announced as marrying her father. So that was another thing where I was like... And because that would imply that during writing of this script that Laena would have had her dragon, so why isn't she in the flying in sequence at the beginning when there's just 2 dragons when there should be 3? And even Corlys says, he's like, oh, we have like nearly as many dragons as they do. Which really, he could only really have 3, but which is probably not as much. But if he just has 2, he's even more wrong. Laenor's dragon is kind of a big deal because it's kind of the biggest one. But we'll get into that.
Valerian the Dread.
Nope.
I know he's dead.
His sister dragon is not dead. The only one that's still around. It's Vhagar. She brought up Vhagar in the one episode. In that same episode, and then they would have had her at the end claiming it. But it's funny that the little 12-year-old girl would have had the biggest dragon and been like the strongest person in the entire world. But now she's not so little, so it's not as cute. But she's still got a big dragon. We do see it. It's being shown in a trailer, but
unbelievable.
It's going to be cool.
Trailers.
But that's everything.
I think I saw the first trailer.
I watched it on stream, so you might have been in chat.
Yeah, true.
I probably said a bunch of spoilers back then, but you.
Oh, I don't remember anything. Yeah.
But I think that's where we're going to leave it. We talked about mostly everything. Cool episode. Next week is going to be a very interesting one. Oh, also I should have, hopefully I'll have 2 House of the Dragon videos out by then. One will be out very soon. It'll probably be out right around when this video goes out, at least hopefully. I don't know. Maybe I should wait a little bit just so like everybody's not expecting it to be about this episode. I kind of liked that if I would have gotten it out yesterday. But I didn't. But look out for that one. You got to
capitalize on all the people looking up for stuff.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll have 2 out before the next episode comes, because I have another one right afterwards that I'm much more excited to make. But yes, you'll see all of those hopefully. But with that being said, Mr. EliteAri, for me and him, we say support links in the description below. Thanks.